regulatory, regulatory, regulatory. Let's break down the word regulatory. As an adjective, it refers to something that is related to or governed by rules, laws, or regulations. In common usage, you'll often see regulatory used in contexts where institutions, organizations, or governments are involved. Think of regulatory bodies, regulatory agencies, or regulatory frameworks. This word is particularly useful for learners who want to talk about official guidelines, standards, or procedures that affect a particular industry or sector. One special note I'd like to mention is that regulatory can sometimes be confused with regulative. But while both words relate to rules and laws, regulative specifically refers to the act of making or enforcing regulations. It's not as widely used in everyday conversation, so regulatory is a safer bet for most situations. In a formal setting, you might say, the company's compliance officer is responsible for ensuring that all financial transactions adhere to regulatory requirements set by the government. This sentence uses regulatory to describe a specific type of rule or law that must be followed. The context here is a formal corporate environment where strict adherence to regulations is crucial. In contrast, in a casual conversation with friends at a coffee shop, you might say, "I'm really frustrated with how my gym's regulatory issues are affecting their membership policies. I feel like they're not being transparent enough." Here, regulatory refers to the gym's problems with following laws or rules related to business operations. The context is a social setting where friends discuss everyday concerns. In a business or academic setting, you might say, "Our research team is studying the impact of regulatory changes on small businesses' ability to access funding." In this example, regulatory describes the changes made by authorities that affect businesses. The context is a professional environment focused on analyzing and understanding the effects of government policies on various sectors. So you want to know about this term that helps make sure things are done in a fair and safe way? It refers to the set of rules, guidelines, and principles that organizations, governments, or institutions follow to ensure they're operating properly and treating people fairly. These rules can cover all sorts of areas like how businesses interact with customers, what kind of information companies collect about people, or even what kind of safety measures are in place in a workplace. It's like having a referee who makes sure everyone plays by the same rules, so that everyone knows what to expect and can feel secure. Some other related ideas you might come across include laws, codes of conduct, or standards. They're all about creating clear expectations and guidelines for people to follow. Engagement. 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 So, let's break down the word engagement. The part of speech is a noun, which means it's a person, place, thing, or idea. In common usage, engagement refers to a state of being involved, interested, or committed to something, like a project, an activity, or even a relationship. It can also refer to the act of catching someone's attention or holding their interest, often in a romantic context, like when a couple is engaged to be married. One special note about its usage is that engagement can sometimes imply a level of commitment or responsibility. So it's not just about being mildly interested, but rather actively participating or taking part in something. Here are 3 examples of practical sentence uses for the word engagement. As we prepared for the royal wedding, There was high anticipation among the public for the level of engagement from the media and press corps on social media, with some predicting that it would break all previous records. This example illustrates a formal usage context, such as a news article or official statement, where precision and clarity are paramount. When my friend asked me about my weekend plans, I mentioned that I had to attend a volunteer fair at the community center to help with event engagement and registration for a new charity initiative. She just rolled her eyes good-naturedly. In this context, casual conversation usage is key, as we're discussing everyday activities and social interactions. In the marketing department meeting, our team lead highlighted the need for increased engagement on our social media campaigns to reach a younger demographic, suggesting that partnerships with popular influencers could help boost brand awareness and drive sales. She emphasized that it was crucial to track metrics and adjust strategies accordingly. This example shows business or academic usage, where technical terms and industry-specific concepts are used to convey complex ideas and data analysis. So, you're trying to understand what engagement means. Okay, let me explain it in simple terms. When people talk about engagement, they're usually referring to the level of interest and participation someone shows towards something, like an activity, a topic, or even a social media post. The main characteristic is that it's not just about being aware of something, but actually taking action, asking questions, or showing enthusiasm about it. Some similar concepts are participation, involvement, or enthusiasm. They all mean people are actively interacting with something and not just watching from the sidelines. Engagement is like the spark that gets people motivated to do things, explore ideas, or support a cause. It's what makes someone go from being passive to active. Compliance. 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 Compliance is a noun that refers to the act of obeying or conforming to rules, laws, or regulations. In everyday life, you might hear people talk about compliance with safety procedures in a workplace, meaning they're following the necessary steps to avoid accidents. You might also come across articles discussing regulatory compliance in industries like finance or healthcare, highlighting how companies are meeting specific standards set by governments. It's essential to note that while the word itself can sound formal, its usage is quite common and can vary depending on the context. Sometimes it implies a sense of cooperation or agreement, while other times it might imply a more obligatory tone. Here are 3 examples of practical sentence usage for the word compliance. In a formal meeting with your government official, you might say, "Our company has achieved full compliance with the new environmental regulations, and we're proud to have made significant contributions to reducing our carbon footprint." This example shows how compliance can be used in a professional setting to highlight adherence to rules or standards. Context: you're attending a meeting with government officials to discuss your company's achievements. In a casual conversation with a friend who works in finance, you might say, "I'm still trying to get my head around all the compliance stuff for this new credit card offer. It's so much paperwork." This example shows how compliance can be used in everyday conversations to refer to the process of meeting requirements or rules. Context: you're chatting with a friend who works in finance and you're both discussing the challenges of starting a new business. In an academic paper about corporate governance, you might say, "Research has shown that companies that achieve high levels of compliance with anti-money laundering regulations tend to have better financial performance and increased investor confidence." This example shows how compliance can be used in technical writing or research papers to refer to the process of meeting rules or standards. Context: you're researching and writing a paper about corporate governance, and you're discussing the importance of compliance with anti-money laundering regulations. So, you want to know about this important concept in many areas of life? Well, basically it's all about following rules and guidelines that are set by authorities or organizations, so people can feel safe and secure. It's like being part of a team where everyone agrees to play by the same set of rules, so things run smoothly and everyone knows what's expected of them. This idea helps ensure that we respect each other's boundaries and rights. And it's especially important in situations where people are working together or interacting with institutions, such as governments, schools, or businesses.